Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. It's a Vaticanless Grandpa coming to you from the parking lot of Arby's on Beach Boulevard. And I thought just the Jamocha shake in the large size was smaller than the original chocolate shake that I got. And I have video evidence of that because I shot a video, I think at the one in Mayport, where I showed you the chocolate shake. But this is a large chocolate shake and it's not very large. Unless the lady behind the counter thought that I needed to lose some weight, which I'm sure I do. But I am a Vaticanless grandpa today, and I will be for a little while. The Vatican is in the shop getting some body work. Hopefully after it gets back, I'm going to sell it fairly quickly and get a more reasonable van. A van that won't have people coming up to me when I'm getting gas and going like, oh man, I love your van. But something that gets better gas mileage, has power steering, maybe a backup camera, air conditioning. So I'm in our Honda HVR or something, whatever it's called, HHR, HRR, whatever. We've had it for a few years. Maybe it's HRV, Honda HRV. Today we're going to do Genesis chapter 13. We're in the Net Bible Reader's Edition. You should read the Bible. You should try to read the Bible every day. And one of the problems with reading it is that a lot of the authorized versions are written in kind of an old English. You want to be able to understand what you're reading, and the Net Bible is one of those Bibles. When we last left Abram and Lot, they had come out of Egypt with all kinds of goods, all kinds of what they call cattle, but it's camels and donkeys and goats and sheep. And they were given all this stuff by Pharaoh. And they already had a certain amount of wealth. But Abram's servants and Lot's servants started to fight. So the shepherds were out there going like, hey man, this is our pasture land. And where they were in the Negev is like there's so sparse vegetation, to say the least, and sparse water. And Abram came up with a solution to them battling all the time. So Abram went up from Egypt into the Negev. He took his wife and all his possessions with him, as well as Lot. Now Abram was very wealthy in livestock, silver and gold. And he journeyed from place to place from the Negev as far as Bethel. He returned to the place where he had pitched his tent at the beginning between Bethel and Ai. This was the place where he had first built the altar, and there Abram worshipped the Lord. So we see that Abram is an altar builder and he's a worshiper. Not so much for Lot. Now Lot, who was traveling with Abram, also had flocks, herds, and tents, but the land could not support them while they were living side by side. Because their possessions were so great, they were not able to live alongside one another. So there were quarrels between Abram's herdsmen and Lot's herdsmen. Now the Canaanites and the Perizzites were living in the land at that time. And a lot of exegetes when they get to this part of the Bible, they go like, oh yeah, they were supposed to set a good example and for the Canaanites and the Perizzites, but they weren't. I believe it's mentioning that these people were there for a couple reasons. Because it was their land. It was promised to Abram, but it wasn't his yet. It would never be his, it would be his descendants. It wouldn't be until Joshua takes them into the land, after Moses hands them off in the desert, that they'll have any possession of the land. So it's mentioned that they're there, but also they were herdsmen as well as Abram's men and Lot's men were. So they had to deal with the fact that there was overcrowding in this area. Abram said to Lot, let there be no quarreling between me and you, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself now from me. If you go to the left, then I'll go to the right. But if you go to the right, then I'll go to the left. So he leaves it up to Lot. Lot looked up and saw the whole region of the Jordan. He noticed that all of it was well watered before the Lord obliterated Sodom and Gomorrah, like the gardens of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, all the way to Zoar. Lot chose for himself the whole region of the Jordan and traveled toward the east. So we're down there in that valley. I think it's the Siddim Valley. And when you're there in real life, you can look over the Jordan River and you can see Jordan, the country Jordan. It's near the Dead Sea. So the relatives separated from each other. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, but Lot settled among the cities of the Jordan plain and pitched his tents next to Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were extremely wicked rebels against the Lord. This says a couple things. They knew who the Lord was. We tend to think that only people like Abram know who the Lord is, but that's not true. These were smaller societies, so kind of everybody knew everything about everybody else. After Lot had departed, the Lord said to Abram, look from the place where you stand to the north, south, east, and west. I will give all the land that you see to you and your descendants forever. And I will make your descendants like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone is able to count the dust of the earth, then your descendants also can be counted. Get up and walk throughout the land, for I will give it to you. So Abram moved his tents and went to live by the oaks of Mamre in Hebron, and he built an altar to the Lord there. Peace out. Amen.